Today, I'm going to be showing you how to display text and create different text effects on a full color display in CodeKit block coding software. We won't be going over wiring as this is going to change based on your display type. Instead, we're going to be looking at the different blocks. And to do so, we're going to start by looking in the display category, which is over here in the left sidebar of CodeKit. If we click on that, we can select the type of display. And in our case, I'm using an RGB TFT display with an ST7789 controller. Once I click that, we will see all these new blocks have appeared in this flyout panel. We're going to want to set up the display, and I'm using hardware SPI, which means I only have to define 3 pins. I can drag and drop this block into the workspace here. I'm going to change the resolution of the display to 240 by 240 pixels. My chip select is on 10, and then I have 7 and 8 for the other pins, and this is going to change based on how you've wired your specific display. And then the second thing we want to do is clear the display. And we can actually check this is working by setting all the pixels to a specific color, but later on we can just change that to black. So if you're using CodeKit on the desktop app or with a pro subscription on the web, you can just hit that upload button and this is going to compile and upload the code to the board. You'll notice our LEDs are blinking as it's flashing, and you can see that our screen has updated to a purple color. Alternatively, you can just copy the code and that'll add, copy to your clipboard, or you can download a zipped INO file and just open that in Arduino. Heaps of ways to get this code onto your board. Now that we've tested our display and we can see that it's working, we can just set that display to black, turn all the pixels off at the start, and we can get to displaying our text. So in the displays category, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we have this display text section. Here we can click and drag this print text option. We can print a simple hello world, and you can use the set text pixels block. If you do this right before you print some text, you can actually set the color of the text that you're going to print. So I may set this to red, for example. If I click upload, you're going to notice that the display is going to reset and it's going to be red text on a black background. And you can see that very small text in the bottom left of the display. Now, based on our camera position, this is actually flipped 180 degrees from what we'd like. This is the default display position, but luckily in CodeKit, we have a block that allows us to rotate the display orientation to whatever we'd like. So in the displays category, look for the set rotation block and place this just after we initialize the display. Then from the dropdown, we can select the rotation to 180 degrees and upload that. And that's just going to flip the display so that it's in the correct orientation based on the way we're looking at it. And you can see now, it says, hello world, right where we expect it to. Now this text is kind of small, so we can use the font settings to make it bigger. Under displays at the very bottom, you can use this set font block, right? And like with the text color, you want to place this before you print the text. We have this blocky font, and what we're really looking for is the scale. We can change this from 1 to 2, and that's going to increase the size of the text. You can only do integer values here, so that's whole numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on. It won't do float values like 1.2 or whatever, so you have to do a whole number for the scale, but you can see that text is a whole lot bigger and easier to read now. And finally, I'm going to show you how to change the font, and that's really easy with this drop-down menu here. So I think I'm going to change to a sans serif bold font. We'll keep that kind of scale set to 2, and we will upload that to the board now. And you'll notice that if we select fonts that aren't the default monospace font, we might have an issue where printing directly is going to put it at perhaps the wrong position. And we can change where the text is being printed with this little cursor block. So y = 0 is kind of the top of the display. So to push it down, we need to set the text to be a little further down. So I'm going to set that to 20 for the baseline of the cursor. And what this is going to do is just change the position of where we're drawing the text at the start. We still have a little bit more to go, so I will change that to 25, and hopefully all of that text will now be in the view of the display. There we go. So I'm going to say that's pretty much in view. I might push it down a little bit further to get it right in there. But now you can see that we have some basic text. We know how to change the color. And this print feature is super useful with the displays because you can actually put really any kind of value that could be like text or displayed as text on your display. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. We're going to get a little bit of a counter going. We can count to 10 and display that number on the display. To get a little counter going, I'm going to use the loops block and count with I, which basically creates a little variable called I, which we can then grab. I'm going to hide this sidebar so we've got a little bit more room for our blocks. And it's going to change the value of I from 1 to 10 and increment by 1. So that's going to start at the number 1, and then when it repeats, it's going to go up to number 2, and then when it repeats, it's going to go up to number 3, and so on until it gets to 10. So then I'm going to move this little print block and the set cursor block, so we're always resetting where we're drawing. And then instead of printing hello world, I'm going to right click to create the little variable I, which is going to hold the value that our count is at, and we're going to print that number to the display. And finally, we don't want this all to happen instantly. If we just run this, it's going to loop through forever. I need to add a small delay. So let's wait half a second. Change that to 0.5 of a second in between each count. And I think the last thing we need to do here is clean up the display. Just clear that display before we write the new text. Otherwise, when we write the new text, it's just going to be writing it on top of the last bit of text we had. So let's upload that. And once it sends, you'll notice that we have a bit of a counter going. It's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have it. That's the basics of displaying text on a full color RGB display within CodeKit. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you'd like to see more like it, subscribe to our channel.